Hey, dog people. If you're a dog trainer or dog business owner and you want to start using Instagram to market your business, but you're overwhelmed at how involved the professional side of social media is, I have a brand new free Instagram launch guide. This guide is going to take you from content consumer to content creator in just 7 days. You can download the guide at www.freedbytraining.com/launch. In this 32-page ebook, I'm going to walk you through the essential things you need to do when starting an Instagram account for your dog business, like setup, branding, creating a posting schedule, and more. There's a simple 7-day checklist included and exclusive tips from top Instagram professionals. Get an actual strategy and a clear plan to start your new dog biz Instagram account completely free. Go to www.freedbytraining.com/launch to download your copy, or click the link in the show notes. Welcome to Dog Training Bytes, the show where canine professionals share their key takeaways, big aha moments, and hardest lessons learned from working with dogs. I'm Mattison, certified dog trainer and behavior consultant, and dogs are my life. Every day I get to coach guardians and other trainers into a deeper understanding of canine behavior. But let's face it, sometimes dog training really bites. And that's okay, because when it does, we learn a lot. This podcast is all about sharing the lessons learned from experience, because the stories of when it got tough or when we made a mistake, that's when we learn the lessons worth learning. And it's time we share those with the world. I'll be talking to dog trainers and other pet professionals about times that working with dogs, well, bit. Not literally. Maybe literally. What's most important here on this show, what did they walk away with? What did they learn? How did it shape their approach today? Welcome to Dog Training Bytes, the show where pet professionals share personal lessons you won't find in any textbook. Today, I have a good friend of mine here with me, Tilly Moore. Tilly owns Tilly the Trainer in Atlanta, Georgia, and provides virtual training, in-person training, and online self-study courses. She originally caught the training bug working with her own reactive dog. Before opening her business in 2023, Tilly worked in a variety of settings and formats, working with animals all over the world. She specializes in force-free training for reactivity and is especially passionate about helping rescue dogs. Hey, Tilly, thanks for coming on. How are you?
Hi, Madison. I'm so happy to be here. I am good. How are you?
I am good. I am coming off of healing from many weeks of being sick, and I know we had to reschedule at least once. That's why the first thing that I said when I saw you was, "We made it. We're here."
I know. I'm so happy
You
that we're
couldn't hear
finally doing
me
it.
because of tech
Right.
issues, but that's what I did say.
Yeah. And also, I'm the worst about like forgetting things, even things that are like important to me and I'm excited about. So I appreciate like you following up and then we rescheduled. So we're here. We made it. We're
We
doing
knew
it.
it was gonna happen. It was just a
Yep.
matter of getting us together. Well, my first question for you is just to ask you to tell the dog people out there about the wonderful Miss Delilah.
Oh, so Delilah is my now 9-year-old Staffy rescue baby. Yeah, I often look back on pictures when I first adopted her when she was 3 and her face was like completely black. And
Mhm.
now it's like totally salt and pepper gray. Delilah is just the sweetest angel on this earth. She can do no wrong. Such a good girl. Yeah. Yeah, and I've had her now 6 years. So yeah, I adopted her when she was 3, now she's 9. So we've really done a lot of growing up together.
A lot. It's been a real journey, a lot of
Yes.
learning together.
Yes, she has taught me lessons that I don't know that I would have learned in a lifetime without her. Like, I think about that all the time, how I think she's really fast-tracked a lot of personal growth for me, which I think a lot of people with dogs with reactivity and behavior challenges can attest to. Like, you learn a lot about yourself and just about your relationships that in
Mhm.
a way that's kind of fast-tracked. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
And I feel like she has been so instrumental in helping so many other dogs because she really is an example of learning new ways and truly, in many ways, recovering from overwhelming reactivity, which I know was like really unmanageable for you on the front end.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I constantly think of the irony that like a dog like her who, struggles with other dogs is on a daily basis helping other dogs because she's like my demo dog. I send videos to my clients teaching her these skills and showing how to train. So she's helping dogs every single day despite her feelings about other dogs. But yeah, she really has taught me a lot about growth and about, and actually the story that I want to tell today is about her.
Yay. Well, let's get into it because I know that you have such a just incredible relationship with her, and I have no idea what the story is, so I'm really excited to hear
Yeah, so I was kind of going back and forth, as you know, between a couple of different,
it.
client stories. And this topic has just been weighing on my mind a lot lately for, a variety of reasons. And this is a story that many of my clients have heard me tell as well because it made such an impact on me. So I guess it helps to go back to the beginning of what
Take us
Delilah's
back,
journey
take us
was.
all the way back.
Yeah, it helps to understand where we were coming from. So, when I first adopted Delilah, I really truly did not know what I was doing. I made a lot of mistakes, right? If I could go back and tell myself, give myself advice, I would do a lot of things differently. But that's something that I've obviously made peace with because it taught me all those lessons that I was going on and
Yeah.
on about. So,
Yep.
I'm grateful that I went through the process of learning them with her. But when I first adopted her, she was very shut down. She had been in the shelter for several months and actually had come in with a sibling. And
Mm.
then the rescue had intended for them to be bonded and be rescued together, but somebody adopted her on her own or her sibling on their own. And so she was by herself for 5 months in the
Oh
shelter.
man.
She had chewed the end of her tail off.
Mm.
She was super shut down when she came to me, and she just wasn't really showing a full range of behavior because she had been through a lot.
Yeah.
So after a few months, including a spay, because she actually had not been spayed at the shelter, she went into heat. We had to get her spayed. There was a
Oh
whole
my.
thing there.
Oh my goodness.
So after that, I started to notice some reactivity, right? She started to lunge at other dogs on walks. She started to, bark. And of course, that spiraled into her just going out of control every time she would see another dog. Didn't help that we were living in a neighborhood where there were just an abundance of dogs behind fences that would bark every time we would go
Really, really
past.
frustrated dogs in the environment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
dogs who didn't really leave their yard. It's like dogs who
Yeah.
would just, their entire life was barking at that fence. And
And
at the
Delilah
time,
was like, well, this is just what we do, right? We just scream at each other.
yeah. And she was so stressed. She's such a
Yeah.
sensitive dog. It's like I can't even imagine as a sensitive person myself, if every single walk people were screaming at me, like multiple people were screaming at me
You've
every
been to New
single time.
York, right?
I hated it. Driving in New York was stressful because of that. I was like, everyone's mad at me. And Philly too, actually.
I know, I know. When you were visiting up
Yeah.
here and I saw you, that was the first thing you commented on.
Yeah, I remember waving at somebody to get onto the freeway, like, hey, can I get in? And he just shook his head. I
Nope,
was like, oh,
absolutely not.
we're not in the South anymore.
Not in the South anymore. Nope.
So, anyways, it's like I can imagine how stressful that must have been for her,
Yeah.
just being bombarded by that stress all the time. So her reactivity became a lot worse before it started to become better, before
Yeah.
I learned how to, really help her. And so I'm not even going to go into the training journey that I went through.
How long did it take for you to start seeing that reactive behavior as she decompressed with you? Did it kind of fit within that? I hate to, I
Yeah,
don't
the
live or
three, three,
die
three.
by the three,
Mhm.
three, three, but was
Mhm.
it kind of with like over the course of those first 3 months?
It actually was, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I believe it took about 3 months for her to go into her heat. And so
Mm.
then she
And
went
so that's a
into
whole nother thing.
exactly, it gets blurry there
It
because,
does.
it's hard to say that there was just one kind of variable at play
None of
there.
this occurs in a vacuum. We know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And for a long time, I wasn't really aware of the like when obviously she was my first dog as an adult. And so I kind of thought maybe it was a hormonal change from the heat because it happened after that, or perhaps that it was like she was isolated from other dogs at that time while she was in
And
heat.
probably it's all the things.
Exactly. Exactly. It was so many things that happened all at once. And probably just, who knows, right? She could have been reactive prior to being in the shelter. And,
Right.
you just don't
Right.
know. We found some methods that really worked for us when I started to really focus on her underlying emotions around other dogs and train without her being stressed during training, so under threshold. We started to really see some real progress. However, the training was slow. Although we were seeing progress, it was hard for us to kind of make really, really significant progress. And in that same time, I started to notice things like when she would go up the stairs, her back legs would be jumping at the same time instead of alternating.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that she had always been really sensitive to thunder, fireworks, and those were things that she had a really hard time recovering from, the stress of those. I noticed that she was becoming really hesitant to go up and down the stairs. We lived in an upstairs apartment. And so at the bottom of the stairs, she would kind of sniff for a long time before going up, and same thing for the top of the stairs. She also started kind of stumbling and falling down the stairs.
Mm.
So when we would be walking down the stairs, the last four or five, she would just stumble and fall. And so as I was also learning more and more about the links between pain and behavior, I we went to the vet and got assessed for some pain. Now, I strongly suspected that pain was underlying her behavior, and part of the reason why, although we were making progress, we weren't getting to that place where I really wanted us to be. Another thing that had happened was she was kind of on and off about food. So
Yeah.
sometimes she would be into eating food and training. Sometimes she would not want to eat food for days, and it would be really difficult to get her to eat, right? And I knew that was a concern as well, because dogs who are just not food motivated, there's always a reason. And so I was concerned about that as well. I brought those concerns to our vet, and the vet dismissed them as behavioral. So the vet, unfortunately, she kind of she asked me if I had ever changed Delilah's food before. And I said, yeah, about a year ago, we switched from one to the other. And she said, oh, well, I think she's probably just trying to train you to switch her food again. And I don't ever want to disparage vets. I absolutely adore vets, and they're a huge part of the team for each dog. But that was not good advice, right? There was clearly
Right.
something going on. And I knew that at the time when she said that advice. At that point, I was a certified trainer, and I was like, okay, I know that's not right. So we ended up getting assessed for pain. I brought her in, and the vet initially did just a regular kind of physical check, right? She lifted all of her limbs, she checked her over just visually. And at the end of that assessment, she said, I don't really see anything. If anything, there might be a little bit of pain in the hips. Just
Like
because,
arthritis or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
because like she
Aches
was
and
kind of,
pains.
yeah,
Hmm.
she was showing a little bit of hesitance to lift her back feet. So the vet said that was the only thing that was really, raising alarm bells for her at all. But overall, she looked fine. And at that point, I was just ready to get answers. And I was like, just do the x-rays of everything. I just want to know.
Right.
So she was like, okay. And she did the x-rays. And lo and behold, the worst arthritis that Delilah has is in her elbows, something that didn't even flag at all from an initial physical check.
Wow.
And she also had arthritis in her hips, as well as compression and inflammation in her spine. So she
The
had
discs. Yeah.
intervertebral disc disease, intervertebral
Yeah.
disc disease as well. So she had multiple sources of pain.
Hmm.
And I don't blame the vet for not seeing this, because dogs obviously signs of pain can be very subtle, and they're really good at hiding it.
Really,
So,
really good at hiding it.
yep. I just think about the average pet parent from that initial physical check. If the vet says that the dog looks fine, they're not going to push for x-rays. X-rays are expensive, right?
Hmm.
They're not going to push and dig and advocate for more, typically, right? So the big lesson for me, well, I guess, okay, before I get to the lesson, actually, once we started managing her pain with medications that really worked for her, as well as physical therapy, we did underwater treadmill, we did
Hmm.
laser therapy, we did we worked on resolving and managing her pain from a lot of different lenses and approaches. we started to see that progress that we should have been seeing from the training initially.
Like, what were the signs as you started to like explore these different modalities of managing and treating the pain? What were the signs of the opposite side of it? What were the signs in the training where you were like, okay, great, like we're starting to see something different here?
Yeah. So one of those signs was just her kind of baseline body language was different. So Delilah has historically been just a generally anxious girly. So she frequently, even when nothing's really going on, there's no stressors, right? She just has sort of anxious body language. So her ears are often kind of back. You
Hmm.
often see her the whites of her eyes, some whale
Mm.
eyes, some lip licking. So even when there's really no significant stressors going on, there were a lot of signs of stress coming
So
from
her whole
her.
baseline shifted.
Yeah. So
Wow.
when we started managing pain with medication, physical therapy, I started to notice her just be able to relax more generally in life
Yeah.
and also be able to rest more often. So get better
Mm.
quality of sleep.
So
Um,
important.
yeah.
It's impossible to recover from reactivity as any creature, a
Mhm.
human, without good restful sleep, which is really
Yeah.
hard when you're in pain.
Exactly. And everything is hard when you're in pain.
Everything.
Yeah, if you think about just if you're in pain all the time, everything just kind of sucks. And if you're a dog and you don't understand you know, the reason why
Well, and they also can't communicate any other way than through their behavior.
yeah, exactly. And so I think a lot of times you see anxious behavior and you don't even think that it could be related to underlying pain when actually being in pain all the time can make a person a lot more anxious because they
Yeah.
don't know when something is going to hurt, right? If they startle because a noise surprises them, all of a sudden their, hips and elbows are aching, right? And so there's all of these different things going on under the scenes, behind the scenes, under the surface that are contributing to that anxiety that are just kind of invisible if you don't know what to look for.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody, and I feel like this is something that I talk about from like a training perspective, where it can be hard. It can be really hard to advocate for your dog with a professional who is
Mhm.
educated, licensed, right? And I love to give scripts and language to guardians out there to be able to use if something is making them uncomfortable with their dog or if they want to dig in or explore something or understand better. So, what might you say to, I guess, somebody who wants to respectfully dig into something when their vet has kind of dismissed it?
Yeah, and this is something that I obviously am always, since I'm not a vet and I don't have
Right. We are
any.
not medical professionals.
Yeah, we're not medical professionals, and I really am careful to not give, anything resembling medical advice.
Right.
But what I always kind of empower my clients with is the things that I have observed that are raising alarm bells for me, and the things that I know to be true about the link between pain, discomfort, illness, what have you, and behavior.
Hmm.
So what I will tell them is, and I found this over, it's taken me a while to kind of become pushy about this because
Yeah.
in the beginning, I think I would mention, I don't know, I think, and I always a part of my behavior plan was always get your vet, check, make sure that
Right.
everything's good medically. Always that was part of my intake procedure, right? We want to make sure that there's nothing going on medically as our first thing to rule out. But I have become more insistent upon if I think that there is something that we need to explore, I will tell my clients, these are the behaviors that I'm seeing that make me think there's something else going on.
Yeah.
And I really want to urge you to dig deeper with the veterinary team
Yeah.
and, potentially like just ask them for the full workup to rule out anything that could be causing any pain or distress. And I find that my confidence being the more confident I am making that suggestion, the more likely they are to actually take it seriously. Whereas if I just say, I think you want to definitely make sure to rule out pain. They'll say, oh, well, the vet said that it was fine. And then that's that. So me being more me being confident to urge them to get
Yeah.
that second look often is what helps them to feel more empowered to ask the vet for the procedures that they're a little hesitant on to get those answers.
There's a lot of information that as a holistic treatment team, we need to share about dogs because they're unobservable in that setting. Like to your
Yes.
point of we need to share our observations because the vets don't see these dogs at home. And even a dog that has no stress at the vet is still not going to act the same way there that they would at home. Now,
Yeah.
I have a dog who has, I think, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of behaviors that we need to work on. But one of the ones that we do have to work on is his vet anxiety.
Mm,
So, pretty much all physical pain is going to be undetectable in that setting because
yeah.
anytime they go to do a physical exam, he is stiff as a board and he's muzzled. And like it's something that we're working on to help him be more comfortable. But there's a lot that is undetectable, unobservable, unknowable in that
Yep.
setting. And the ability to be able to share that communication back and forth is really important. I know that you work virtually with a lot of clients like I do, and something that I like to do, provided that the guardian and the vet are interested in that, is they can add us onto
Mhm.
their kind of vet account, and then we can call and talk directly to the vet or vet tech, or even just somebody within the office management team to get our notes added into that. That way, that can be a part of again that really holistic approach because with Remy's vet anxiety, I went to 3 different vets. This was this calendar year, I think, maybe late last year. I knew there was something wrong. I knew there was something wrong
Mhm.
with a tooth. 2 vets told me there isn't. Now, they didn't really look very closely because it's really hard to look in the mouth of a dog who is really, really stressed out, doesn't want you to do that. And it took going with x-rays and actually going forward with a procedure for a dental cleaning with the possibility of an extraction. And the vet
Yes.
said to me, the our new vet said to me, "I don't know how you knew that." She said,
Mhm.
"Most people wouldn't notice, but there were just subtle signs in his behavior, the way that he was gripping toys differently, that I could just tell that there
Mhm.
was something wrong." And he was
Yeah.
probably in a lot of pain and he was probably hiding that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they also have a high tolerance for pain, I believe. Most dogs.
Right. And just from an evolutionary perspective, it's not really wise to look super vulnerable when you're in pain. And so it's the smart thing to do to look strong and, like you're not an easy target. And so just from that perspective, it makes sense why dogs wouldn't want to show their pain super readily. I think often people are looking for a whine or a limp, something really obvious when
Yeah.
really being armed with knowledge about dog body language in general and just knowing that pain and illness is such a big contributor in many cases and that it can really impact behavior. Just knowing that makes you more likely to view it from that lens. And that's, I guess, another big lesson from this journey is I was already training force free. I was already training with positive reinforcement, but it made me even more, I guess, grateful that I did train that way because I view dogs with this lens of curiosity.
Mhm.
Why aren't you doing that behavior? When I say, sit, what is it that's causing you to not sit? What is it, right? Are your hips aching? Are you in pain? Is it
Yeah.
one of those questions that I would ask when a dog says no to something that I have,
Well, because
suggested that
we
they do?
know that there's always a reason. There's
Yeah.
always a reason, and we just have to dig in deep enough to find it.
Exactly. And if I was looking at the dog through the lens of stubborn, disobedient, you have to do what I say. And if you
Mhm.
don't do what I say, I'm going to make you do it. Then we would miss so much. And my heart aches for the dogs out there who are trying to communicate in the only way that they can that
Yeah.
something's uncomfortable, something is painful, and they're not being listened to. So it just gave me even more of that confidence in the way that I do train um, and it just gives me another reason to advocate for training in that way because it allows us to be curious and it allows us to see subtle things that we might not otherwise see.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you would like the listeners out there to know about you or what you do?
Yeah, so I offer in-person training. If you're in Atlanta, reach out to me. But I also offer virtual training. So anyone, anywhere, we can work together. And if you have any questions or concerns about that, I offer free Zoom calls so we can chat about it, see if we're a good fit. I also have a couple of online courses, one for those barky, lungy behaviors for reactivity, which gives you that immediate relief from, teaches you and your dog skills to stop those stressful walks and get relief, and also sort of a precursor to that for the dogs who just really generally struggle to focus when outside and walk on leash without pulling your arm off. So I have several online courses to check out, and those are the ways that you can work with me. But I love connecting with people, so I always love when people book a free call just to explore the options. So that's the best way.
You can find Tilly on Instagram at tilly.the.trainer and on her website, www.tillythetrainer.com, both of which will be linked in the show notes. Thanks for joining us in the world of Dog Training Bites, where every challenge brings a lesson worth sinking our teeth into. See you next time. Dog Training Bites was created, produced, and edited by Mattison Simpson. You can connect with me on Instagram at Dog Training Bytes, that's BYTES, and at Freed by Training. For information on today's guest and resources for help with your dog or dog training education, visit www.dogtrainingbytes.stream. Looking for more? Listen to my other show, Unpacked, a clinical dog training podcast co-hosted by Sailor Jerry the dog trainer and produced by Straight Up Dog Talk LLC.